A little bit earlier, they had an opportunity for a warm-up of one of the cars, and look who's going to warm it up. Climbing into the cockpit of Antron Brown's car, none other than Big Daddy Don Garlitts just a few minutes ago.
All you camera people, this is very dangerous. I suggest you all take 5 steps back.
Antron. Always the card, but how about having Big Daddy Don Garlitts in your race car? I mean, that must feel as good as him getting in the car and feeling all that power again.
Yeah, he looks like he got very familiar with the cockpit right away.
Got the fuel.
Oh, just leave it off. We're going to start on the gas bottle.
Okay, this is on.
Yeah, that's off.
Don't worry about the clutch now, right?
No, not on the gas.
Well, you hear Garlitts talking about all the procedures that they're going through, and you know, he's everybody does a little bit different. You know, I've tested for other teams and drove for a number of teams, and the warm-up procedure I've never done the same for 2 different teams. There's always subtle differences as far as when they want the pedal out, when they want it in, how you turn the fuel on, how you seat the clutch, and so forth. So any driver has to get in and get acquainted with the procedures, and I do the same thing. If it's a new car, I go through the whole thing usually once or twice too, just make sure I'm on the same page.
With all computers and the different changes that have come over the years, has it changed a great deal in the style of starting?
No, not really. They've basically started the things the same over the years. They usually start on gas or alcohol because it's hard to light the nitro initially when it's cold. Once it gets running on the alcohol or the gas, then they will turn the fuel on. You'll see the lever there, pulls the lever on. That lets the fuel come up, and it takes a while for the fuel to come back up. Brian Karate, the crew chief, to keep putting the gas or alcohol mixture in there until the fuel takes over, and then they start making their adjustment.
Listen to that cackle, and that's something that the crowd will just flock to wherever they hear an engine starting. And it's loud, and you got the nitro fumes. How come they love it?
You just said it, because it's loud and you got the nitro fumes. You know, and the vibration. I mean, even when they're sitting there idling up close, I mean, you can feel the car. I mean, and definitely when you're sitting in the stands and you got 2 fuel dragsters hit the throttle and go down the racetrack, you can feel it. But just, it's amazing to hear these engines at, 8,000 RPM. They're idling up, they idle at about 2,500 RPM. So it's definitely it's a sight to see. And I used to love warming up a race car. Because as a driver, you wanted the procedure, you wanted to be smooth and go through everything, and you wanted to do everything right because it was important to make sure the clutch was seated right, you had the right temperature, and you did everything the same way so that it was pretty much perfect when it went to the starting line.
And it's the one reaction that almost everybody has when they come to their first drag race and see the nitro cars run, and that is that the sound is physical. You feel it wash over you.
Yeah, you can tell the first timers, they get right up close behind it, and all of a sudden the fumes hit them, and they're all running with tears out of their eyes. But the best part too is when they, some of the teams will whack, hit the throttle to seat the clutch. Brian and Mark, which a lot of teams do now, they just kind of let the clutch out and hold it against the brake just to get some heat in the clutch. So, but when you hit the throttle there and you're standing behind it and you're not ready for it, you're watching fans jump. That's kind of cool.
I expected nice still jump. So that was Big Daddy just a few minutes ago. But what a thrill that had to be for both Antron Brown and for Don Garlitts to warm up that car. I wonder which one was more nervous.
I'll tell you, either way, I mean, just have Big Daddy Don Garlitts sitting in your race car, watch him warm it up. I would be plenty excited.
Well, we can find out because Big Daddy is with us right now. How was that, Don?
Well, I tell you, I've had my nitro fix for this morning, that's for sure.
Does it make you want to get back in the car?
Oh, I'm telling you, that's a sweet thing there.
Well, I want to ask you one question. You got your first win here in 1964, and you told me you thought you ran right around 198 miles per hour. Now, you're known for your innovation and making cars go fast back in the day all by yourself. You tuned them, you drove them, you built them, you did everything. Did you think back in 1964 that these cars would be able to go a quarter mile at over 330 miles per hour, or even 1,000 foot where they're running almost 320 miles per hour?
No, we never thought anything like that. Back in those days, we thought even 250 was impossible.
You get you climb around the cars a lot, and you're still keeping your hand in everything. I mean, we've seen you out on the line this weekend celebrating with Mopar, but when you look at these cars now, is there anything that strikes you as, wow, we never thought of that as a possibility?
Well, of course there is. But then, you know, we didn't have the technology back then. The computers made such a big difference, and that technology just wasn't available way back. But, you know, when the computers came on the scene back in the mid-'80s, they made a lot of difference.
Yeah, back then it was more of a seat of the pants driving. So, you know, tell the fans that don't know, I mean, when you went up and made a run, I mean, what were you looking for as far as to make the adjustments as far as what the car did by that feel from the seat of your pants?
Well, you felt the car leave the line, and as it revved up in the low gear, because we mostly ran 2-speed, you felt how it felt before it got ready to shift. You didn't shift with a tack or anything. When it fell off a little bit, then you shifted. And then the way it pulled down the course, it was all up to the driver to say, well, it pulled good at the 1,000 feet, or it nosed over in the light, stuff like that. That's what the driver had to come up with.
And this weekend, you still haven't given things up. You're still active. Tell us about what you're doing this weekend.
Well, I got one of those new 2009 Dodge Drag Pack cars, and I'm running it in any stock automatic. I really like that. You drive that to the line, you start it from the switch on the dashboard, you drive it back from the finish line, you pull the hood off and go to gas check. You do everything yourself. I built the car in 2 months at my shop. I brought it up here to Indy. I didn't run all that good, but I'll get it worked out. I'm having a lot of fun, and that's what counts.
That's exactly it. Well, Big Daddy Don Garlitts, thanks for spending the time with us. Let me tell you, it was great to watch the crowd work around you this morning. They respect you so much, and that's so wonderful to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
B2B, we're now open to that. That's the whole story that's exciting.
Well, there is that Challenger. And by the way, this is a big weekend for Antron Brown, too, because, well, Big Daddy is his hero. So we put a mic on both drivers, the idea to be able to listen in. And check out what they had to say while they were just hanging out in Don's new custom-built Challenger.
It inspired me back in '86.
Yes.
86.
Oh my goodness.
Because I was 10 years old back in 1986. I was at the Summer Nationals at Englishtown.
Oh, when I did the big wheelie.
You did the big wheelie, and that thing took off and did a somersault twist and flipped backwards. And I was there at the fence because you were my hero, and I was like, "No, Big Daddy." I was all upset. My mom was there. I was upset, almost cried. And then when I saw you get outside that race car and you stood up and you put your hand up, we all jumped and roared so loud. It was incredible.
It was the most unbelievable thing.
Oh, and the craziest deal about it was that we were so into it, we knew you went back to your shop, you put that race car back together with your own 2 hands,
right,
and went out and you won the championship that year.
Right. We didn't miss a meet. We couldn't finish the Englishtown. I took a good look at the car. It couldn't be just fixed in the field. Those cars were too fast to just kind of mess them up, you know. They need to go back to the jig and be done right, really inspected. We went back to Ocala, we put the car back together and went right to Denver and finished the thing and won the championship.
That was it. That's why you always been my hero. Because not only did you drive them, you built them.
Yes.
Oh, that is so cool.